All right, good morning, everybody. I apologize if there's been any technical difficulties getting into the meeting. That seems to be my trademark. Don't persecute me for it. So what we're going to do is, since last week we didn't actually go over our Module 5, we're going to go ahead and do that this morning. We're going to go ahead and jump right in that. So with this, has anybody had the opportunity to work on their Module 5 yet, the environmental health? I know we've had a lot going on, and with the holiday season, would anybody like to compliment? Not compliment. Yeah, make a comment.
I got through it, Michelle. This is Tracy. I liked the environmental health one. I thought that the instructor is very dedicated to what she does. And I thought her house was kind of cool.
I know we were talking a little bit before we started, and you were talking about how the workbook itself has helped you, that we had, that Claire had developed. One thing Tracy asked was what she was supposed to be doing, like with our sheets that are contained in the workbook itself. So those sheets, just to kind of go over this again, in case anybody has that same question, these sheets are just to help you stay, to get as much as you can out of the online courses. Because I know sometimes when we're doing online modules, that can be, we can get some things out of it, and then if, sometimes we're, put our notes somewhere else. I have a tendency to do that. Like when I was taking classes, I had a book here and I had a book there, and then I found myself scrambling for a page to write some notes on because something really stood out. So the workbook itself is really designed to help you keep those thoughts all in one place and to help you be able to move through it smoothly, but to really get out of the program what the program's intending you to get. Hold on a second. Miss Flo is messaging me. All right. Let me answer this really quick. She will not be joining us today. Just letting me know. So the workbook, this is what I love about the workbook. And also when you guys fill out the surveys and, do your CSATs or your feedback, please feedback on the workbook also. Because it's designed to help us get the most out of this program. So Tracy, really quick, with Module 5, what was one thing that really stuck out that you learned?
It was interesting to me. I would not have like grouped environmental health into like your overall health. So to me, I was like, oh, that gave me something to think about. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, I really thought the instructor did a good job, and she lives what she teaches, right? She built this beautiful home, but she did it in a way that's sustainable and works within her value system. So that really stood out to me as like, wow. I mean, I think I'm doing well when I use my reusable bags at the grocery store.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right. So with environmental health, the first thing that's going to have you do is, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through the workbook. And then I know not all of our group is here because I know there's a lot that's going on right now. And so, let's just continue to work on our, on our Facebook page, continue to share information, share something that's popped out to you. Katie did reach out to let us know that she wasn't going to be here also. And so she's really good about putting what she's learned on our Facebook page. So I really appreciate that. I think with what we're going on, with what's going on right now in regards to communication, that's one of our biggest forms of communication right now. Emails, text messages, phone calls, and Gotta love it. Facebook and Zoom, right? So let me share my screen and we will run through this. We will briskly walk, not necessarily run. All right, can you guys see the workbook? All right, so the environmental health introduction. So just really quick, has anybody been having any difficulties logging on to their Canvas? If you have, please let me know. Please let Claire know. She is our wizard at taking care of these little kinks that we have going on. So if you're having difficulty with that, please reach out. So our environmental health introduction. So environmental health module will cover many different aspects of environmental health, including sustainability, systems thinking, and environmental change. Now, like Tracy had mentioned, sometimes I don't think we take into account how our environment affects our overall health. You know, part of that being, you know, if we look at just the sheer nature of our cells, you know, we are made up of, like we had talked about before, you know, chemicals, we need water, we need sustenance, we need minerals, we need vitamins. But we also need sleep. We also need nice air to breathe. You know, take for granted that, right? And so, you know, if we're taking care of our environments, that is also going to be able, that's gonna spill over into our overall health. So after reviewing this first module, we're just going to move down this really quickly. Continue the introduction and watch the video. So how has anybody else besides Tracy done or started working on their module 5?
Yes.
Awesome. Sandy, how far have you gotten on yours, Miss Cassandra?
I just started, but I like that TED talk about nature. What was it? Nature, beauty, and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one with all those flowers opening. And then in that first one where she was talking about the sustainable programs that she does, she has one called Sustainable You, and it's a 4-H camp for kids. So I was like, oh man, because we always do the Little Ponies Day Camp, and it's like 3 days, or, well, we've done it several ways, but this one where they talk about like water sampling they did for Water Day, and just those, what different things we could do with the different tribal programs that we have that would go with the land, air, food, water, and energy. That would be cool.
That's really awesome. Those are really some good ideas. So that was the video with Dr. McCann when
Yes.
introduced to several different sustainability programs. Sustainability programs, I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have within a lot of our communities, whether it be community activities, community programs, or longitudinal changes that we're wanting to really look for and wanting to see within our communities, is the sustainability concept. And so by learning about this environmental health and those sustainability, the possibilities of being able to create a sustainable program, I think is really encouraging, because then you look at things, it helps us look at things differently. You know, what is going to be the long term? How do we make sure this follows through? You know, the beginning, the middle, and hopefully a long, far distant end, right? So the connection on this is, what does the environmental health mean to you? What impact does environmental health have on your own life? And what sustainability practices do you already implement in your daily life? So what does environmental health mean to you? To any of you guys, please pipe in.
maybe how healthy the environment is. A while back, one of the programs were trying to get a recycling going on, and then a transfer station for trash.
Yeah.
And I don't know whatever happened to that. But I recycle plastic,
Nice.
tons of plastic, and it builds up, and then I take it over to Walmart's and shove it in there. And then ink cartridges. I know that Walmart's takes them, so.
That's awesome. I think sometimes when we look at environmental, there's this, we look at it as a big whole. With a lot of the things that we've really learned, I think it's how do we take that back down into our own environments, within our own homes, within our own yard, within our own little framework, going back from this micro to macro, to these larger components. So when you look at environmental health in regards to your home, did that really cross your mind when you started working on this module? That's something to really think about, because I think a lot of the practices that we begin to practice, especially from this whole module, is we've got to be able to practice not just this module, but throughout all of our modules, is that we've got to be able to practice them within our own environment first. Because sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm working on a project and it's a big project, I end up jumping over what's going on in my own personal life and taking care of everything on the outside. And when I had a daughter that lived at home, she got fully neglected because I was focused on all these other things. And so with this module, I'd really like us to really start looking at our own personal environments, because what we can practice in our own personal environments, we can then expand. And I think that's what really helps those practices become sustainable, because we've learned to sustain them within our own dynamic, within our own area, and we know how that looks. And then we can practice that sustainability outside into like community, like just our neighborhood. We could go from our neighborhood to our larger community. So like for mine would be my home, my yard, Richardson subdivision, and then Tavamawisi and Richardson's community. So I really think that it's helpful to be able to practice these things first within our own environment. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I almost
Michelle, I
feel
love
like a Ferris
that.
Bueller. Anyone?
Michelle, I love that idea of practicing environmental health where we are, right? Because environmental health, just when you look at it globally, it's so overwhelming. Like it doesn't feel like you can make a difference anywhere in that, one small person. But when you take the idea and move it down into your own space, then you can start making more and more changes within that space. So I love that idea of starting home first and then working your way out. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. So I know Sandy had talked about like the plastic, recycling the plastic, right? One of our biggest challenges within the area is that we don't have a place to take our recyclables. So, like in a lot of different states or in larger areas, in urban areas, there are facilities where you can do the cardboard, where you can do the plastic, where you can do, I don't know if they do glass, but there's also like tin. So with my daughter, when she moved out to Salt Lake, they have a recycle garbage can. And that's pretty awesome. Here we don't. We just have to do with what we can, reuse and repurpose. My niece is very good at reusing and repurposing. All right. So,
Michelle,
yes.
can you, Jess is trying to get on. She said, can you send an invite?
Yes. Let me.
And I guess the same for Chris too.
Okay. So Sandy, I am going to turn this over to you on this page. on Unit 1 while I am working on that. So just follow my screen.
Are we watching the TED thing? Or are we just looking at it?
So if you can get onto the TED Talk, I tried to get on, so I've been having difficulty with my mod getting into my Canvas. So I'm kind of working on that. But let's just kind of review. And if anybody has watched that TED video, please share oh my gosh, sorry. Please share what you got from that video.
Has anybody watched the TED Talk video? Tracy? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. Is that better?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Gosh. So, yeah, I did watch it. I think it's the second time we've watched it. I think it was in the class earlier, but I liked the way they changed the focus, and I can't even imagine having the patience of setting all those cameras up to watch all those, to film all those flowers opening up. That blew me away. The ability to it just seems like a whole lot of patience to me. So
I think maybe with knowing what the outcome is going to be probably helps with all the time that you have to put in to get that.
yes. Oh, I'm glad some people can do it. I'm like, I probably couldn't. Even then, I might not be able to. So I love it.
Didn't he say he did it every day, like for years?
Yes.
I was like, wow.
Does anybody else have any comments regarding that TED Talk? Has anybody else done this environmental health module yet?
I've done it too, the whole thing. So
Okay. All right, so the next one, did we already answer that? What does sustainability mean to you? Oh no, we did what? The environmental health. What does sustainability mean to you? Does anyone want to give their comment about that?
I think sustainability I think it's different things for different people. I think of sustainability as, for me in my own life, things that I can keep up, whether it's in my health or environmentally or whatever. It's got to be something that can be reproduced, for a long time and done for a long time. If it's too hard or too confusing or if I don't have a value for it, for me, it's not sustainable. Things aren't sustainable unless I have, a bit of value for what I'm doing. And so learning to build value for things that are environmentally sustainable, to me is a good thing. Even just learning I joke about my bags, but learning to use my reusable bags, that took a long time. And then I was devastated when COVID happened and they told me I couldn't use my bags anymore. No, that was not a good day.
That's just what I was going to say too, because we started, we have a whole bunch of them, and then I was saying, hey, let's use these, and so we used them a couple of times. Same thing, COVID, and you can't use them. It's like, oh.
Yes, it was cute when they first started letting people use them again in the grocery store. I know several of the baggers at Smith's, and they were like, Tracy, start bringing your bags again. You can do this. And I was like, oh, you guys do know me. So that was kind of fun. That was really fun.
Awesome. So I got those messages sent out with a new link. So hopefully, and I posted again on our Master Help Volunteer. So Sandy, if anybody does reach out to you, the link is posted on that page. So yeah, sustainability, isn't that, like I said, one of the biggest challenges? We have things, we think we've got a plan, and then something throws us awry, and then we have to adapt, right? So that's where that adaptability and that really pulling on what resources that are available that we can utilize. If you ever have an opportunity, there is a book that's called Half the Sky. And it is about a group of individuals throughout the world who stepped out of the norm of general practices that are going, like stepped out of society and started creating with what was there. And they had created this, I can't even remember what country it was, but they had created a play area. And this was in a third world country. There was a lot of debris, there was a lot of trash, a lot of buildings were broken down. But what they did is they took what they had, and people took their experience, and they took what worked for them, and they came together as a community, and they created a play area. They removed debris, they reutilized different debris, different stuff, and they like made a pathway, and then they brought in different structures, and it's all about finding things utilizing the resources that you have to make it into something different and something better. And so when I read this about sustainability, I thought, where does sustainability come from? Sustainability comes from investment within our communities. It comes from the people that are utilizing it on a day-to-day basis. Sustainability is not just about, I have a brilliant idea and this is how it's going to work. Sustainability is about the community saying, okay, this is something I think we all could do. So I think that's one of the key things too, is that we've got to, with any of our projects, if we're looking at a sustainability component, we have got to have the buy-in or the investment of everybody who's going to benefit from it. The community is what takes it to a sustainable level, not just us, right? So down on this bottom of page 72, so how do nature, beauty, and gratitude impact your personal life? What value do you find in these concepts? How can thinking about those concepts motivate you to live a more sustainable lifestyle? With this really quick, I think about my niece, Emery. She loves to garden. She loves it. It's hard work. She loves her chickens. She loves to see, like when she's out there weeding her garden, it's just awesome to see her sit back, and she just is admiring the work that she did and the plants that's growing. I'm not a gardener. So I admire anybody who has that and who can see that. And that's just kind of like, when I thought of like gratitude towards nature and towards beauty, like I see gratitude, I find beauty and gratitude in like nature itself, sunsets, flowers, just even like watching an ant climb up a leaf, a blade of grass, that just blows my mind. So how does this beauty and gratitude impact your personal life?
For me, it relieves stress.
Nice.
When I look at all the different things in nature, I get calmed down. And then I have bird feeders up, and I think just maybe this year, I have some big birds that are probably the size of a robin, but have the shape of magpie with a long tail, and they're blue. So I'm not sure what those are, but they're blue. And so they come to the feeders and they feed, and so I keep those bird feeders full so I can see them come, and they're on the ground. And then I have these cute little black cap chickadees that come, and they have a certain sound that they make. So when I hear that, I go, oh, they're here. So, but yeah, I love birds.
So down at my house in Ouray, in the summertime, I'll get up early in the morning. And then what I noticed is I'd get out there and I'd put a sprinkler on, right? And I'd sit right here at my table, and then my window was like right here on the left of me. And I was using two different sprinklers, right? First, I was using those ones that go like this, back and forth, they go back and forth. They got like that. And I would watch these hummingbirds. They would come and then they would stop, and I never really seen a hummingbird stop really, they're like always moving their wings. So they stop, then that they'd wait for that, or they'd fly and they'd stop, and they'd wait for that thing to come back, and then they would sit there, right? And then I noticed that I used a different sprinkler, just a set sprinkler, right? The water comes out, it doesn't move back and forth. And I noticed that those hummingbirds, they enjoyed the anticipation of that coming back to them and then going away. You could tell, because when I used the other ones, it didn't seem like they cared for it too much. They'd come around and they'd hang out for a minute, but then they just leave, and then that would be it, right? But then when I used the one that went like this, back and forth, they would stay there and play around, and they would move around, and they just hang out for a while. I mean, for a while, not just like 5 minutes, but like 10 minutes or more, they would hang around when I used. So for some reason, I could tell they like this one versus the one that just came out straight by itself, right? So those are things that I realized just by sitting in my kitchen with my coffee, looking out the window and watching the sprinklers and watching those birds come. And you've seen a difference in what, so it makes you think, these animals, they're smart, right? We don't really, like you said, you really don't think about it, right? You don't think, but I mean, every year, and then I learned that about the hummingbird. I learned that because their wings, they take so much energy, right, to fly, right? So they have to have a lot of nutrients, whether it be sugar or the feeders that Sandy has, to help them eat. They need all that stuff, right, to help their bodies, because they're burning a lot of calories with those wings, right? And so I learned that these so when they migrate during the winter seasons, right, wherever they're at in their winter season is, I learned that these hummingbirds, when they go further south to fly a long way, what they do is they nestle down in the top of those Canadian geese. They ride on top of those geese, and they fly on top of those geese all the way down south to wherever they want to get off at. And then when the geese come back, they hop back on those geese and go back to where they came from. So for that hummingbird to know what to do and how to live his life, that's pretty extraordinary and pretty amazing. Things that I didn't know then, what I mean? So I learned some things about him. So it makes me think of, these animals, how smart they really are, right?
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know that. And so that kind of goes into that next part. What value do you find in those concepts? And Chris, you started hitting on that. So it's like, when we look at that, they know what they need, and then they do what they need to do, right? Because one day the grocery store is not going to be open. And if we need a loaf of bread, how many of us actually know how to make a loaf of bread? It's like these little things. But that's pretty awesome. I had no clue about that with the bad little hummingbirds. That's cool.
Yeah, they're right. And what's really cool is that the geese actually let them right on top of them. They're sensitive to that need of that hummingbird, so they let them right on top of them, and they don't try to shake them off or anything. They just let them sit on top and ride.
And I like that. They're sensitive to that need. And I think with all of us, when we're looking at being a volunteer within our community, it's about being sensitive to the needs of the community that we're wanting to serve, right? That we're wanting to provide services for. Sensitivity is key. We don't know what the journey or the difficulties that another person is having. And they don't know the difficulties or the challenges that we're having. So it's really important, as we've talked about, being able to practice these concepts within our own little space because when we're healthy and balanced within our own little space, that's going to carry out into the way we interact and the way we implement programs within our communities. So thank you guys. So on module 2, on the section unit 2, so watch the 2 environmental health videos and 3 supplemental videos about water and environmental resources. Review the article about Utah's air quality. Use this page to write down your notes. We all know that Utah's air quality is not the best. How many of you guys have pulled into the valley and you just see the haze? They get stuck between those between the mountains, right? Right there in the valley. Out here, there's been reports, there's been studies about the air quality in this area. Even though we're not seeing those those clouds and the smog and everything that's stuck like we do out in the Wasatch Front, they're saying that the quality of air is still bad here. So what does that do when after you read that, I want you to write down your notes. So we need to learn the systems thinking is a way to visualize the connection between us and our environment. So our environment, this huge concept, right? But on our part, what is it that we can do? So if we're looking at air quality within the Uinta Basin, what's one way? Granted, we're in a rural area. You have to travel distances from space to space, right? To get some of those things, to visit family, to go to the store. But what can we do to help on our part minimize our impact on some of the issues that we're facing in our environment?
What are some of the, excuse me, say that again? What are some of the
ways that we can minimize our impact on the environment with what we do?
Save all the plastic water bottles that I use when I drink water. Yep.
That's a good example. What about idling our vehicles, especially in the winter, right? We know it's cold. Sometimes you want to sit, somebody needs to run to the store really quickly and you just leave your vehicle running. Simple little things like that. Another thing would be when it comes into our air quality. I don't know if this is necessarily applied to our air quality, but how many of us run around, leave like more than one light on in our house? I do that too. I remember.
Leave the outside one on.
I leave all the lights on.
I leave just the outside one on. That's it. Yeah.
So do you guys remember growing up, your parents like, don't leave light cold. Are you in that room? If you're not in that room, turn that light off. So that is just I know it doesn't necessarily, I'm sure there may be some link to our air, right? But that is something that we can begin those little practices. So not idling your vehicle. That I think that's one of our biggest things, especially with our weather and especially with how cold it is. Recycling our water bottles, repurposing different items. So, but if we look at clean air like this whole systems thinking is talking about promoting clean air in your community, it could be just not idling your vehicle. I know that can be a challenge. That's very challenging for a lot of people.
So would it be like also like how you use paper plates and stuff like that, not using that kind of stuff, and then like reusable containers and stuff like that?
Because we've kind of gotten into a place where everything is disposable. Everything is disposable. And when we start looking at promoting reusing and recycling and looking out for our environments, it's about using things that we can reuse over and over again. So have you guys had the opportunity or heard of washed ashore? So every year, well, almost, except for this year, I haven't gone. I usually go to Bend in Oregon. It's my getaway from the world. It's a small little town on the coast in Oregon. But they have a workshop there. It's called Washed Ashore. And what they do is they get items that have been washed ashore. They have a collection bin. You throw things in by color. And what they do is they create sculptures. Some of those sculptures were actually out at Hobo Zoo this year, and they'll make huge, like, jellyfish. And the jellyfish one year were made out of plastic netting. And so, like, little things that, like that hold pop together. There were plastic containers, plastic stuff, and what they do is they get all these items and they drill them and they make this big old sculpture. But it's surprising what you will find that is just discarded and found on the beach. Now, if we walk in our own communities, we see a lot of stuff that's just discarded and thrown off the side of the road. And me and my sister kind of chuckled. We thought about one time, so you know how beer bottles are like that amber color? We thought, wouldn't it be pretty cool to make a giant buffalo out of amber glass, a big old structure? And so we even talked about, like, there's enough things that float around in the area that we could do like a giant prairie dog up by Bottle Hollow. So, it's just like looking at these things, it made me really realize there's toothbrushes, laundry baskets, you name it, combs. I think we have gotten into this complacency where everything is disposable. But then there's those, do you remember back in the day, for those of you who are older, when we used to have burn barrels? When you had trash, you need to go burn your trash.
Yeah. We still have them.
Yep. And so, that's the way things used to be. But now we've got Russian olives being burned up on Hilltop. I don't know if you guys probably throughout the whole area, because we've had this overcast, you guys probably smell that smoke. So you can see, like, these little things that we're doing or that are happening can contribute to the pollution, not only within our own communities, but within our tribe as a whole, or, our counties. So yeah, reusing things. I know paper plates are a dream. I love paper plates. But that means you're going to go through a lot of trash, right? So, yep, recycling. I think one of our biggest disadvantages we have out here is we do not have a recycling center.
There's one in Walmart.
Yeah, for their plastic bags. Thank heaven. Because there's nothing I despise worse than driving down the road and then you see one clear up in the wind, floating around, and then it's like the top of a tree. Yeah. All right. So how can systems thinking, and Jenny, you kind of hit on this, develop more sustainable ways of living. So you talked about, like, with the paper plates, right? Sure, it takes time, but we can wash dishes and we can have this, reusable containers, but it does take time. And so how can thinking about these things make us start looking at more sustainable ways of living? One thing I found is that it really makes us reflect on time. Who has the time to wash dishes? Right? So it really starts us to change the way we look at things and where our focus actually is. So if we're just going from event to event, or this and that, trying to get as much done as we can in our 24 hours, along with sleep, then, a world of disposable access is more, we're going to be more likely to do that because it's easy, but it takes some time. And so this is where balance comes in. So even with environmental health, we need to make sure that we find that balance. Our time is valuable. We all have the same amount of hours in a day, but how do we balance out that time? We can use and implement our environmental health. We can make an impact environmentally, but it's going to take some investment and it's going to take some time. All right, so let's see. So we're on Unit 3. We've got just about 10 more minutes. So watch the environmental health video, write down your notes. Don't forget that with this workbook, this is your workbook. Add extra pages if you need to. Add more. There is nothing that is more beautiful, in all honesty, than a marked up book, right? With notes in the margins, with doodles on the side. That is a well-utilized piece of paper. So write down that environmental health. So in this video, Dr. McCann discussed several different ways to promote sustainability in our communities, such as clothing swaps, worm composting. So research your local community to see which of these events are already happening. Create a list of local sustainable programs or events that you can support or promote. Now we do have a clothing exchange outside in our different communities, but I want us to kind of look within our own tribal communities, because a lot of what I'm finding, and you guys can, you know, share this experience or share your experience. It is more, our tribal community and our tribal members are more likely to participate when it is within our own tribe. You know, and that simply comes down to the fact that I think there's a level of nobody's going to question why you're doing what you're doing. You know, it's just like because tribal communities and tribal members and, you know, people who live within our different communities just know how our communities are, right? And so I think we're going to get more of an investment when we really start putting things within our tribal community. So a community closet, free donations, people have an opportunity, and I've spoke about this before, to come in and get the clothing that they need. This would be something that I would love to see within our community, a community closet for anybody. You know, bring the stuff that you don't need, the stuff that you've outgrown, and leave it there, and, you know, open up.
Damn, the stuff you've outgrown.
If you're a child, now, no shame or anything like that.
No judging.
The lockdown's over, everything you've outgrown.
Everything you've outgrown due to COVID.
Hell yeah.
We could call it the outgrown closet.
I think we talked about that as one of the volunteer programs.
Yeah, we did.
Yep. And the benefits to that, just kind of like with this whole thing, is it's like it's within our tribal community. And it's not that we're saying, oh, we can't go here, we don't want to go here. It's about making people who are vulnerable and being sensitive to their needs to be able to be comfortable enough to utilize services. And we know that there's a lot of stigma. We know that there's a lot of different factors that play into, there may be shame, there may be guilt. So being able to be like, okay, this is within our own community, may make it a place where people within our community feel more comfortable going. And, you know, there's not that stigma, there's not that perceived, you know, that somebody's judging us. So when you're looking at your projects, look at things that we need within our tribal communities to create that space for people who are in vulnerable positions, or people who just want to be more active in their community and have that connection. All right, so then it moves on into our Unit 4, which is the environmental health video again. Complete a 1-hour environmental change service activity as described by Dr. McCann in this video. Use the worksheet in the following page to help you plan and implement your service activity. So, Tracy, did you do that on page, on Unit 4?
Michelle Tracy had to leave.
Oh, did she? Okay. What about you, Miss Cassandra? Did you start that?
No, I haven't gotten that far.
Okay. That's totally fine, right? So I really would like, I haven't done it either, so I'm going to make sure I get that done, because I think that would be really interesting. Environmental service activity. Yes.
What about Shay? Does Shay have any comments? Because I think he's finished his modulars.
I know he's been nice and quiet. Shay, we're putting you on the spot.
Mhm.
No, I don't have anything to say really.
Yeah.
That's totally all right. Did you complete your module 6?
I haven't even started
Okay,
yet.
all right, that's totally fine. That's one thing I want everybody to realize with this group. We're reviewing those, and there's, it's not that like, oh, you need to get this done. We're here to help and support each other. So don't feel any way if you haven't gotten to that point yet. Just keep on working to the best of your ability. Like I've said, I know there's a lot that's going on. Life happens, so when you do have an opportunity to any of you, when you do have an opportunity to complete your environmental health service activity, I would really like you to post about it on our Master Health Volunteer Program on that page. Kind of just share what your experience was, just to give everybody an idea who hasn't gone that far yet of what this might look like. So next week, which is the week of Christmas, next Tuesday, will you all be available? I know I had put on our schedule that we were going to skip the week of Christmas. Do you feel as a group you would be able to participate if we did one next Tuesday? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a poll on our Facebook page. That way everybody can answer anonymously and we'll move from there. Our next group, we're going to review Module 6, which is financial health. And I don't know about you, but I think we all need financial health. So on a quick note, I'm really grateful for the opportunity I've had to work with you guys. This has been awesome. You guys have really brought a lot to this program, and so it's been really cool. I think I want you guys to realize that the input that you give is extremely important. The input not only on the program itself, but also on the workbook, because Claire's amazing. If you haven't had an opportunity to meet her personally, which I hope one day you guys all do once this COVID thing is over, she's an amazing individual. And she is always looking to improve these materials. So your feedback is very, very important. So please make sure that you are filling out those surveys. Make sure that you are giving your honest feedback about this program, because all we can do from this, especially with our community and tribal voices, is improve this for our tribal communities. We want to be able to implement this program not only within tribal communities, but in other places. Let's think about starting another cohort after we're done with this, but recruiting other programs or other people and other community members. So you guys all have played a big part in your community, and I commend you for the work that you've been doing during this difficult time. So on that note.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
I see this, once we're able to gather again, I see this as going into each community, because they have their community buildings, and then maybe building a support group off of that. And then we have our new building that will be done next year. And we have a big space there for groups and classes. And I think that my program can influence and motivate people in their circles, my staff, and hopefully help them to learn and to make their lives better, I guess.
So if you
and composting, we could have a big compost
heck yeah
area, and then we could sell some worms to the fishermen.
We could have our
got money to buy gift cards.
Do you know what's so cool about this? And this is really quick, just on your guys' projects. Before Tracy and before we had all gotten on, Tracy, we were talking about her project, and she's going to implement a project that she had done prior with the library. The one thing I noticed, which is very beneficial, if you revisit a project that you had done in the past, utilizing the worksheet and the way this has been designed, it would actually be a very good comparison to say, okay, let's say you started a program and it wasn't as successful as you would have liked it to have been, or there needed to be changes. If you revisit that and utilize this program and these worksheets, I bet you your impact may be a little bit greater, and you may be able to refine it, make it more impactful, make the vision that you originally had more present. So that's something to be thinking about. If you're not sure what kind of project you're wanting to do, think about projects that you've done in the past and one that you were really passionate about and you're like, I wish this would have went better. Revisit that and see how utilizing this program and what you're learning in this program, how it can make it really impactful. And so the cool thing about that, it kind of gives you some measurable out, from your last experience to this new experience. And so we're going to hopefully get to this place where we're going to be able to help you find what it is, these measurable outcomes that you're seeking for with each of your projects, because there's nothing more rewarding than to actually see numbers or increases depending on what it is you're looking at from something that you've done. You can actually see those through those numbers and through those statistics. So if you're wondering about a project, think about a project that you may have done in the past that you want to revisit and do again. All right, any other comments before we cut out for the day?
Did anybody watch the YouTube video of the fish on this one?
No, tell us about it.
Well, he pretty much, like the environment in it, and he went to Spain and found this fish that tasted amazing, and he didn't like fish, but this fish was really amazing. So it came from a farm that the fish weren't fed. They were eating the normal fish food in the environment, and it was really neat to see. And he was like, it can happen in your guys' environment if you take care of the environment. And it was a fish farm, but it was sustaining itself, and there was and these flamingos flew like 150 miles just to eat the fish there. And then that guy was like, they're eating your fish. And he's like, oh, that's okay. That means there's enough to go around, but it still sustained this massive population to, it sustained eating them as well as predatories eating them. And then I was thinking about our own, because we have buffalo here. We do have things that are, in our environment that are here and that are in our local stores and that do provide really good food, health to yourself, and that we do have things like that here that people may not think of, that you can, if you eat buffalo, it's within our community too. So that was something I liked from the video. It made me think of what we have here, like the fish farm, so.
Our tribe is very sustainable. We've got a lot of things. We've got like our wildlife, we've got our fishing, we've got, there's the natural, we've got wild garlic that grows in the area. There's like wild
potatoes, and we have everything here, and it's within our environment. It's not just in a grocery store. Well, it's provided in grocery stores, but like I like that point of view of the environment and a healthy environment, as well as for yourself and your family, and you're growing something. But we do have it here. If you think about it, we do have a lot on our land, and you can go fish, and we have it, if you think a little bit wider than just a grocery store. What's provided, it's within our own hunting, buffalo, elk, I go hunting, and so it's it's there within our community too. So
And so
that just made me think about it.
yes, thank you for sharing that. And then it comes down to those concepts of time, right? These are time events. These are events that we need to take time to be able to participate in. But then that means sometimes we've got to put these jobs or the almighty dollar aside and be like, no, this is where I'm going to go right now. So yes, thank you guys. If we don't, I will send out a poll to see who's willing to participate in a group next week. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. I appreciate you all and the impact that you have on your community. Continue being awesome, because your impact is affecting the environment around you. It's affecting the people around you, and then it carries out. I don't think we realize sometimes what we do and how it impacts those around us. So on that note, stay warm. Don't be idling in your vehicles. Keep the air clean and recycle. We'll see you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you guys at 1.
Yeah.
Just that.